Once upon a time, there was an artist who decided that the time has come to paint his masterpiece. Now, where that artist lived, most of the artists drew portraits of important people. But our artist thought that would be a little bit boring, and he decided that his masterpiece will not be a portrait, yet another portrait of the king, but a portrait of the king's horse. The artist worked hard, devoted himself to his labor, and ultimately his masterpiece was completed. He was very proud of the portrait that he had painted of the king's horse, but as all of us, the artist likes getting compliments, so he decided to take the painting out of his studio and hang it on the wall of the castle of the king. And the artist sits by the painting, waiting for people to pass by, anticipating all the compliments he'll get for his really extraordinary masterpiece. But to his terrible disappointment, people passed by and barely glanced at the portrait. He was heartbroken, and he decided that he needs a little bit more effort to get the long-awaited compliments. So he turns to one of the passerbyers and asks him, "Tell me, what do you think about the painting?" The passerby looks around in all directions. He looks at the wall of the castle and says, "I'm sorry, sir, I can't see the painting. The king's horse is blocking the painting." The artist realized what the problem was. His portrait was so convincing, so lifelike, that people didn't realize that this is a painting. They think it actually is the king's horse. And what's there to be excited about a horse? So he realized what he had to do. He approached the painting, he took out a knife and cut the painting in half. Half of it he moved to the left. The other half he moved to the right. Now everybody who passed by realized this is obviously a painting. And then people appropriately were all effusive in their praise at this quite extraordinary painting. Now, Rav Shlomo Kluger, as told over by Yonatan Billet, says that this parable captures the essence of the story of the splitting of the Red Sea. In reality, we should have the ability to stand, face the sea, and be overwhelmed with the beauty, the power, the awesome nature of the sea. We should feel a closeness to God who created this magnificent creation. However, we're so used to looking at everything in life that it's very hard for us to really see this beauty, to really be amazed by that which surrounds us. So the Jewish people made it to the sea, and they weren't overly enamored by the sea. So God realized what he had to do. So just like the artist in our parable, God went to the sea and he cut it in two. Half of it he moved to the left, half of it he moved to the right. And then everyone realized that this is an act of God. And at that moment, the Jewish people sang praise and song to God. And this is giving us a very significant insight, both about how to relate to the world and life, and about how to relate to God. There's a French philosopher who has said that the challenge of life is not discovering new lands, but seeing the old ones with new eyes. The challenge of life is being able to truly see that which surrounds us. See that which for such a long time we don't really look at because we feel we've already know it. And the ability with new eyes to see that which is around us could give us a sense of wonder about the beauty and magnificence even in those things which are thought to be mundane. And from that closeness to the world, we get a closeness of God when we realize that behind this beauty, behind this art, there is the artist. And maybe to make this point, I'll share with you a story told by the Israeli sculptor Daniel Kafri. Kafri created one of his masterpieces, a sculpture, and anticipated a response within Israeli society to his latest masterpiece. However, his sculpture elicited very little response, and this led to a tremendous sense of frustration of the lack of appreciation and recognition that Israeli society gives to its artists. And one day he was giving a ride to someone, and the person got a ride, but also had to listen to all the vented frustration at Israeli society. The lack of vision, the lack of ability to recognize, to see, to appreciate. And the person who gave the ride to was very patient, listened to everything Kafri had to say, but when he left the car, he turned to Kafri and said, you're so upset about the lack of recognition and appreciation about your art and what you have done for Israeli society. But do you have appreciation? Do you have recognition for all that God has done for you? And that was a critical moment in the life of Daniel Kafri, which led him to become a Choser B'Tshuva. And when he did become a Choser B'Tshuva, he wrote a pamphlet giving with what he felt proofs for the presence of God in the world. And one of his proofs, I don't know if it's the most convincing, but it's certainly the most beautiful. Kafri writes that he's an artist. He knows how hard it is to create beauty. And the world is so beautiful. And maybe Darwinism could explain the survival of the fittest. But there's nothing in that theory that could explain why the world is such a piece of art. How do we see that there's a God? If the world is such a piece of art, there must be an artist. Shabbat Shalom.